All right, all right, all right. Matt, the mortgage guy. In today's video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to pull out from the comments section some comments from you guys, agree and disagree from a past video I made, and give you my honest reaction to it. I think it'll be fun, so stay tuned. Bam. All right. Before we jump into it, I just want to say thank you. Anybody who comments, whether I agree or disagree with you, I think it's healthy. I think it's good. I try to look at opposing points of view to see if there's something I missed, right? I'm following housing. I'm following mortgage. I'm trying to take all the information that I have gathered and everything I'm hearing, seeing, and feeling from consumers on a daily basis and communicate that to you. So if you have an opposing view, if you have something different going on in your market, if you've got comments you'd like to share, please do it in the comment section. Know that I read as many as I can. I try to react to them. In today's video, I'm going to react in real time to some of these comments because I love them. Keep them coming. So first and foremost, I've got a comment, and this is a video I made. All these comments are on a video I recently made talking about, is the housing market going to crash? Is it true? Right? I expressed in that video some of my feelings why I don't feel a real estate crash is coming. So if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch that. These 4 comments that I'm going to pull up and react to are ones from that video. The first one, Anthony, my man, he says, furthermore, when rates rise to 5%, it's going to be curtains for the housing market. Anthony, I appreciate the comment, brother, but I do want to say I don't agree with this. And we don't have to go back that far to look at 5% interest rates and see what they did to the housing market, right? Because back in 2018, I pulled up a graph here. I'll try to share this. It looks like October, November 2018, the average rate per MBA was 5.15%. If I then look at a graph, which shows me the median sales price, and I look at late 2018, there's no crash, right? Prices are pretty steady. Here's something that's interesting to me. If you look at the year preceding that, right? From end of 17, or we'll call it Q4 of 17 to Q4 of 18, that 1 year period, we saw rates go up about 1 full %, from low 4s to low 5s. What happened to the median home price? Well, if I pull up this graph, without getting into the nitty gritty, we stayed pretty flat. So taking that data and trying to predict what's going to happen today, if rates go to 5%, does that mean crash? I don't think so. Does that mean we start to flatten out? We stop seeing 10, 12, 15% appreciation? I think so, and I hope so. For the sake of a lot of buyers, I got pre-approved. All right. Next comment comes from my buddy Manny, and a lot of discourse in the comments. I really enjoy it and appreciate it, talking about, the difference between crash and correction, right? And me pointing out the fact that, listen, we haven't seen, in my lifetime, the real only crash is the 2008 housing bubble, right? And so, in his comments, he goes, we've seen multiple crashes. We've seen the Panic of 1837, the 1873 stock market, the 1929 Wall Street crash, Great Depression of the 30s and 40s, and then the 2008 housing bubble. In my mind, I'm saying, listen, last 100 years, all we've really seen for real estate crashes is the 2008 housing bubble. I know, and many people, in any real estate and mortgage circles know, that was largely due to some very, very irresponsible lending. Tons of loans written for people with sub 620 credit scores. Tons of loans written for people that couldn't verify not even a dime on paper of income. It was just stated income type loans. 100%, 105% loan to value, meaning no skin in the game. People weren't bringing any down payment. So you combine all that stuff with adjustable rate mortgage, negative amortization mortgages, low credit scores, no income on paper. Of course, people were spending more, buying more than they could afford, right? Of course, that resulted in inflated prices, which later fell when these people realized they couldn't pay, right? So I think we're in much different times today. I mean, I know we're in much different times when it comes to lending and the stability of lending, the responsibility of lending, the qualifications of the buyers. So if we strip out that 2008 housing bubble, we've really seen a pretty steady increase with a few corrections along the way, which are natural, 5% downturn, some flat areas, some 8%, but not crashes, which everybody's predicting literally at all, besides that 2008 housing bubble. So that's where I tend to look at current data with supply versus demand and say, listen, there could be a chance that we never see a 20% market crash, and we'll define crash as 20% more of real estate depreciation. What if it never comes, right? What are people going to do then? And that's what my fear is, right? Looking at year over year rent price increases of 12%, knowing that people have housing as a need, right? They need to do one or the other, rent or buy. If rents continue to increase like crazy and people are waiting for a housing crash, I think they might be sorely disappointed if it never comes, right? Things go up 20% over the next 2 years, then correct and go down 10% the following year. They're still worse off 3 years from now than they would be today. All right, on to the next one from JMC. Housing appreciation will not decrease until the general sentiment about owning a home changes. 89% of people renting, desire to buy. Don't see people believing paying someone else's mortgages are better than paying their own happening anytime soon. I totally agree with this. And the one thing I want to say about this comment is, it talks about buyer sentiment. And there's probably not enough talk about buyer sentiment out there today. It has an effect on the market. And it was either this comment or another comment where I got into a little bit of a conversation with somebody around, I know it's real. I know buyer sentiment is real. When the stock market is booming, when the economy is booming, when people feel good, they tend to spend more. Is that happening now? Yes. And to somebody else's comment about stimulus, could stimulus have part to do with it? Yes. But truth be told, I don't think that these folks that are buying in my market at 500, 600, 700,000, stimulus isn't what's beefing them up, allowing them to buy at 700 or 750 versus 600. These are folks that, might have two W-2 incomes combined of 200,000. They're in a great place in their life and their career, and they're trying to buy a home. The stimulus, if it was received, whether it be, child tax credits, whether it be forbearance, where people, that's stimulus in a sense where they're not, paying a mortgage payment. It doesn't have as much effect on buyer sentiment as some might believe, but everything else that's going on, I do believe it has the effect on buyer sentiment, which in turn helps housing. Once buyers get fearful, the economy turns, the stock market crashes, people's 401ks start to depreciate in value. That's when buyers get fearful and they're not going to be as bullish on housing, right? So I agree with that comment about buyer sentiment has something to do with it, right? 89% of people renting desire to buy. That's a cool stat. And I think that, that it's telling that there's still a lot of demand and a lot of, buyers that want to buy. All right, last comment I'm going to look at here. Victoria, what's going to happen to all pre-construction homes that hit the market in the next 6 to 12 months? I don't see people are going to buy them now. It's very risky. Rates are going up. So all these houses are going to be in the market soon. It's going to be a lot of inventory. Well, I do know that the stats are out there. The builders are building more than ever. But when you look at the stats of the shortage in housing versus what's being built, we're not even close to being in a place where this inventory is going to hit the market and we're going to have a flood of supply and reverse this big supply versus demand imbalance. What's going on right now, even in the places where the most construction is going on and the most homes are being built, as they're being built, as they're just breaking ground, people are getting into contract, securing a home that's 6 months, 9 months, 12 months from being completed. And the contract's locked up. That house isn't going to hit the market. That's not inventory that's going to flood the market. That is literally a house that's already sold 3, 6, 9, 12 months before construction is completed on it. So most markets, and maybe there's going to be some outliers where they overbuild and that market might see a 10 or 20% decrease in home prices because they overbuilt there specifically. But as a whole, countrywide, I think that the construction is going to do some good in helping balance out this supply versus demand imbalance, but it's not so much construction versus all the demand we have that supply is going to, be at a place where we've got 5, 6, 7 months of supply and it becomes a buyer's market. I just don't see it. So anyhow, that was a few comments that I plucked out to respond to. I really appreciate them. Like I said, please continue to comment in there, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Let's have some conversations. Me, you, anybody else in the comments, just keep it polite. So far, vast majority of folks just want to have good conversations. They just want to have good discussions. They're not getting in there trying to fight with anybody else, even when I disagree. I'm not going to fight you for it. I like to hear it. I like to hear opposing views, why you think so. Some folks even are going to bring up, data and whatnot to support their side, which I like, right? Rather than just saying things that go up must come down. We're going to have a crash, or I feel something, right? Like, let's support it with something that really matters, right? So if me and my team can help you in any way, as you know, reach out to us, greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out the quick form, let us know where you're at, how we can help. And until next time, we gonna see.